another set of video notes. Today we've moved on to 3-6. We're going to look at how do we multiply matrices. If you think about the other day, we were talking about adding and subtracting, and we said they had to be the same size. And I kept reminding you, if you're adding and subtracting, they've got to be the same. And somebody said, what about multiplying? Well, we're going to look at the rule today. Instead of looking at the size of the two, you have to compare rows and columns. Okay? So remember, your first number is how many rows there are. The second number tells you how many columns. And what you'll notice is the column number of the matrix C, the first matrix C, has to be equal to the number of rows in the second matrix C. If that happens, you can't actually multiply them, and you'll have the same number of rows as the first one has, and the same number of columns the second one has. Okay? So that's all you do is you compare the columns of the first matrix with the rows of the second. So let's try a couple examples. So we've got A. Matrix A is a 4 by 3. Remember, that means there are 4 rows of numbers, and the 3 tells you there are 3 columns. So 12 different values. B is a 3 by 2, so that means 3 rows, and this time only 2 columns. Okay? So let's look. If we try to take A times B, that means we're trying to take a 4 by 3 matrix and a 3 by 2 matrix. Now, is the number of columns of the first one the same as the number of rows? And if you write it like this, you just look. Are the numbers the same? They are. So you can do it, and your answer has 4 rows and 2 columns. Okay? Let's try it in the other order. Let's try, what if we take B and put it on the left side? Well, that means we'd start out with a 3 by 2 matrix, and then we try to multiply it with a 4 by 3. Now look, is the number of columns equal to the number of rows? It's not the same. So we say not possible. Okay, so unlike numbers where you can switch them around and multiply and it's fine, you can't do that with matrices. Let's look at C and D. C is a 2 by 2, so that just means 2 rows and 2 columns. D is really weird. It's a 1 by 2, so that's 1 row with 2 columns. Okay? Well, if we try taking C times D, let's see. We're doing a 2 by 2 and a 1 by 2. Is the number of columns in the first the same as the number of rows in the second? So we say not possible. Let's try instead, let's try D times C and C. D times C would be 1 times 2, and C is a 2 by 2. So the number of columns in the first is the same as the number of rows in the second. Oh, so it works. And our dimensions are 1 by 2. So our answer would look like that. Okay? So one of the first things we're going to work on is seeing if you can figure out when you can actually multiply them and when you can't. Let's practice that. See you in a little bit.